And here we go, everybody. Welcome to Real Fellas Talk Sports. I'm David Burnett, your host for this evening, joined by three distinguished gentlemen. I know I'm exaggerating, but I got to give them some play anyway. Anyway, let's introduce the fellas. Larry Abels, Washington, D.C.'s great voice of reason. How you doing, Larry?
I'm good. So what were you exaggerating about, gentlemen or distinguished, or is it both?
Well, you pick them.
Good to be here, guys.
All right. Greg Finner Sr., welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm great. It's good to be back. The only thing that could make me feel better is if I won 3 pools in March Madness. Wait, I did win 3 pools in March Madness.
Those, didn't you?
I just made up all the years I got skinned alive. That's all.
I hear you. I didn't win my pool either. So, Chuck Snowden, how are you?
Well, I'm great, David. As you know, I'm always honored, and it's with much joy to hang out with you guys on Wednesdays at 7 so we can cut up the week in sports. So it's pretty cool, and I like it, and I can't wait to get started.
All right. We had some exciting basketball, and we're going to talk about the Final Four, the men's Final Four, the women's Final Four. But we'll start with the men. Florida defeating Houston 65-63. Florida is truly the comeback kids. At least it seems so to me. Larry Abels, what do you think?
Comeback kids, I guess you're right. And they had a lot of help from their friends in a couple of games. But, they hung in there. And, if I'm a Florida fan, I couldn't be more excited.
Chuck.
Yeah, they unbelievable, man. They dodged the bullet. I guess an overtime win against UConn. We thought Texas Tech had them, let them off. I think Auburn had them up, and then of course the game the other night against Houston. I picked Florida at the beginning, as is documented in our show. But I got to tell you, on Monday I was rooting for Houston. I
feel so badly for Kelvin Sampson. I cheered for him. He takes so much hell here in Indiana for his short stint at Indiana University.
Yeah.
But I would tell you, Chuck, as an Indiana grad, I'm sure you would exchange 6 Final Fours for what's happened so far, wouldn't you?
Phone calls. He was making phone calls in the summertime to his recruits. At that time, it was illegal. Got fired because of it, because Indiana was on a zero tolerance policy or what have you. And now we look at that and we think, wait a minute, he got fired for calling his recruits in the summertime? I mean, it sounds so absurd right now, and it's been a debacle since he has left.
Yeah, a lot to discuss and a lot to pick apart regarding Kelvin Sampson. But let's talk about what happened to Houston in those final few minutes in the game. They had a big lead for a while and lost it toward the end. What happened, Greg? What happened to Houston?
So, first, every game in March Madness this year was fantastic. Every game was fantastic. Duke characteristically folded like a lawn chair, and I knew they would. That's why I didn't pick them. I knew they would. Houston's defense smothered them to the point that they couldn't breathe. They needed a whiffer. They needed an inhaler. They could not breathe. I mean, they just overwhelmed them. And now I will say, I think that the foul that they called on Flag at the end was suspect. We'll come back to that. But I was so conflicted because I had Florida. I picked Florida early on to win it all. But how can you not love Kelvin Sampson? I mean, he is just such a likable, just wonderful. He's the kind of guy that at this age, I would want my grandson playing for. I absolutely want my grandson playing for him. But I'll tell you, I haven't seen comebacks like the ones Florida executed since the old NC State Cardiac Pack of 1983, featuring DC's own Derek Wittenberg, Sidney Lowe, Thurl Bailey. That was came back so much. But that's what this reminded me of. Not quite as cardiac as that pack was, but man, you could feel the momentum building in every game. It's like, here they come, and here comes young Mr. Clayton. Oh, and I'll come back to him. Oh my goodness, young Mr. Clayton. What a man.
Chuck, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, I don't want to go down too much on this, but in the first half of that game against Houston, it was physical, but there were only I didn't even notice the referees, and I think there was no more than 4 or 5 fouls called in that whole first half.
They let them play.
In the second half, the referees got involved, and there was a period of time where in 9 seconds there were 3 fouls called in 9 seconds. So I just thought that the refereeing in the second half was a little different than the refereeing in the first half. But I haven't pulled the numbers out to see, in fact, what the difference was. But the fact that Houston couldn't get a shot off 2 times down court, that's unacceptable. And Houston, actually, they did not shoot the ball well at all, but neither did the guards from Florida. And that just hurt them.
But here's the question I would ask Chuck around that referee. How did the technical change the complexion of the game? Because something changed after that. And I don't know, I can't really put my finger on it, but something happened after they called that tech on Florida's coach. It's like something changed. And I don't know if they felt like they needed to make some calls up or call it tighter. I'm not sure what it was. And
I'm not even sure it was on the coach. I think it was on the assistant coach. Right.
The assistant coach came up on the floor after the arguing a call. And something happened there. I think it might have been too quick a whistle, though.
Larry, how did you see it?
Well, back to the original question you asked about Houston. I always thought Houston was a suspect offensively. They seem to be a team that could play defense and eventually will wear you down, kind of like the 40 minutes of hell from Arkansas. Yeah. But defensively, they stayed on every game up through the championship game. They were even pretty good defensively in the championship game. They took Clayton out of the game in the first half. Most of the game.
He only had 11.
Now, he had some timely shots, but I thought they did a good job. But they just could not shoot. And Chuck, you mentioned it earlier. You got to be able to get a shot off the last couple of possessions. Not even when you're turning it over down a stretch, recipe for disaster.
And that was that was very disappointing. And the question I have, and it's talked about a lot in the talk circles, why play for a 3-point shot? Why? I don't understand that. I'm a Kelvin Sampson fan. I'm not ashamed of that. I won't back off from that. But I think that was a mistake. They should have played for something a little closer. Played for overtime.
They took a little too long to get into their offense. Period. The pros are very good at getting out under 5 seconds and getting off a good shot. They seemed like they just wasted so much time. And again, the 3-point shot, it did look like they were going for that, but I thought they should have tried to score earlier.
I have a theory on that. Maybe right or wrong. So Tugler had already fouled out. Cryer had 3. Uzan had 3. And Francis had 4. Clayton was starting to come to life. And I don't think that Kelvin Sampson believed he could beat them in overtime. They were running out of gas too. They went, all out for 19 minutes. I'll say 15 minutes, 35 minutes. First half and 15 minutes of the second half. By the fifth, their shots were falling short. They were losing their legs. They were making those reaching, lazy fouls you make when you're tired. I don't think he thought they could win in overtime. That's just, me once again.
That may well be. That may well be. And sometimes you got to judge your team. What are they capable of doing? Are they tired? Can they execute? Chuck, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll tell you another thing that people have not talked much about post game, but they had this kid on Florida's team named Richards, and Richards kept them close in the first half. I mean, they, like you said, you guys said, defensively, they shut down Clayton. They shut down Martin. They were playing their butt off, Houston, and yet they were only up like Houston was only up, what, 3 to 4 or 5 points at halftime because that guy Martin kept them in the game. And I guess that's the point about Florida. Boy, they got a lot of weapons, don't they? Somebody nicknamed them Noah's Ark because they have 2 of everything. and maybe they just had a little bit more weaponry than Houston. One quick other point about Houston. Look, that thing that they do is not by accident. They showed clips of what they do in terms of workouts, and they dive on the floor, old school. See, the 4 of us are old school guys, and we believe in that old school coaching. And you're right, Greg. I would send my child or grandchild to him too. I don't know that my grandchild or child would want to go to him.
Yeah.
So he just requires a certain kind of athlete, a certain kind of person, and they were older than Florida too. I think their average age is 23. But
shout out to Randy and Mike. Thanks for joining in, guys. We appreciate it.
Hey, absolutely. More viewers, the better. Speaking of Houston and their defense, they shut down Duke in the end. In the semifinals. Was it a Duke collapse or Houston defense? Let me ask you, Larry, what do you think?
Yes.
Both
things can be true.
Yes.
I think the collapse was a result of Houston's defense. I have utmost respect for Houston's defense. What did they score them like? Outscored them 25-8 down the stretch.
One field goal.
One field goal like the last 8 or 9 minutes. They definitely tighten up the screws on Duke, and Duke kind of collapsed.
Part of that, though, I think that Duke, they didn't develop their bench over the season. So they asked their starters to play 35, 38 minutes. And I think they, like Greg said about the other team earlier, I think they ran out of gas at the end, Duke did.
Larry. No, Greg.
So if it's one criticism I have of Kelvin Sampson, it's when you get a timeout and you got an inbound play or you got to run an offense. I mean, it really should be, everybody should know where they are supposed to be. It should be boom, boom, boom. This is the first option, second option, third option, elevator screen, whatever it is you're doing. Those guys a lot of times didn't look like they really knew where to line up. So they obviously spent a lot of time on defense, but not a lot of time on like situational basketball, situational planning. And it felt like even that, I know we'll talk about this at the end, but the up and down that Sharp, that was a result of just poor planning and poor execution. But their defense reminded me to a degree, John Thompson, don't roll over.
You're right.
To a degree of Georgetown's defense. The difference was Georgetown had these waves, these platoons, and they were so disciplined that they would smother folks so much they would want to fight. Now, when you got a guy, you playing defense and a guy wants to fight, you're defending his butt pretty good. I mean, you got him going. So
they might have wanted to fight because they was kind of physical with them too.
They were.
It's funny that you mentioned the out of bounds, out of a timeout, and all that stuff, Greg. But I think, and David, you should jump in on this one, because I thought the best out of bounds play I saw the entire tournament was Houston executed it against Purdue with 2 seconds to go, got a dunk out of it, and they beat Purdue by 2, and they executed the hell out of that play. But you're right. In the other games in this tournament, the Final Four, the execution did not look as smooth.
Now, are you hazing me to bring up Purdue?
Well, I just thought you might have watched that game because I know you watch Purdue games too.
I think you were hazing me. Anyway, what happened to Auburn? Well, let me tell you what I think happened to Auburn. Bruce Pearl, but that's another story.
Your favorite coach.
Well, it might have been Broom. Was Broom 100% after he fell and hurt his arm?
He was.
No,
he never was.
Yeah, he didn't look that assertive to me, like he has earlier in the season and earlier in the tournament.
He looked like he was favoring that arm.
He was.
He was. But then he jumped that 3 ball.
Stole games from everybody, so just add them to the list.
He was their star player, and he didn't step up like that.
But I think three things happened to Auburn. First of all, Clayton happened to Auburn. He just, with 4 minutes left, he just took over the game. He just took the game. And Auburn and Bruce Pearl did not prepare defensively the way Houston and Kelvin Sampson did. They prepared. The last thing is Martin's dunk. That dunk that monster dunk. The momentum said, the momentum completely shifted to the other bench. And he dunked on everybody. It was like a thunderous, like, you can't see me dunk. I'm like, I don't know what, and I didn't even know he could jump like that.
Right.
He dunked on everybody. That moved the momentum around a lot.
They actually made him do that too, because they were coming after him, and he was like, I might well try to throw it down.
It was thunderous, man.
His name has come up multiple times in our conversation. This kid Clayton, he came out of college or high school with a 0 star, right? And he just worked and worked and worked. Started out at Iona, and now he could be a lottery pick in this draft. And
I was going to bring him up. Was he the tournament's best player? I think he was. What do you guys think?
I do
too.
definitely in the final four.
Clutch.
Definitely in the final four.
31, 34 points,
Yeah.
etc. Hit 11 in the final, all in the second half.
And
I
Chuck,
had
you see
a
him as an
comment about
NBA lottery pick?
That's what they say. He can shoot the basketball. That's a value in that league now. I know he's smaller, but that's what they're saying. They're saying that he earned some money in this tournament.
All right. Now, lastly, before we leave the men's Final Four, got to talk about the expected number 1 pick in the NBA, Cooper Flagg. Hype, or is he really going to be the future star that people believe he's going to be? Larry, let me start with you.
It's hard to tell if he's going to be a star, but he's definitely going to be a legitimate NBA player. He's only 18, so he still probably has some upside.
Yes.
Got to continue growing and get a little better, but I really see no flaws in his game. He's a basketball player.
The one thing to keep in mind, if people don't know, his twin brother is still in high school. He's still in high school.
That's insane.
I
Greg,
think he's the
your
real
thoughts?
deal.
He's definitely a player. He definitely can play.
Even in the game against Houston, he had 27. So, he can play, man. And then he's 18 years old. He's going to get stronger, bigger. He was playing against guys who were 22, 23, 24 in some cases years old. And he turned 18 in December. So he's going to get better and better. He's got good length. He's good defensively. I like him a lot. Now, star, I don't know. But I do give him a comparable. I do think he reminds me, maybe not as good defensively, but like a Kawhi Leonard. I think he's got those kinds of a skill set.
Let me give a shout out to my man Patrick Lee.
Hey,
we
Patrick.
do look great.
Thanks, Patrick. Appreciate it.
We
Thanks
do
for
look
joining
great.
us, brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hey,
Sharice,
Sharice.
how you doing?
All
Sharice,
right.
do you think we look good too?
I think
I know the
she's
answer. I know the answer to that, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think Cooper Flagg is going to be a star. I do. I don't think he's going to hit the league and light it up right away. But I think he can shoot. He's a phenomenal passer. He blocks a shot. He plays defense. Nobody talks about his defense, but he can play defense. Once he gets in the NBA and understands the strength required, the foot speed, if he's doing what he's doing at Duke as a freshman and his brother's in high school now, yeah, he'll be a legitimate star. I would pick him. If I had a lottery pick, I'd absolutely pick him. Absolutely.
Now let me ask you guys this: a player similar in terms of age had a little bit more professional experience as Luka. Came in Europe a number of years before he came to the NBA, but of roughly the same age as Cooper. Can Cooper hit the NBA like Luka hit the NBA?
No,
I don't
no,
think
he's
so.
not going to have that kind of.
I don't think he's as physical. I mean, when I first saw Luke, he was so physical with everybody. I couldn't believe he was only 19.
He had played pro ball for several years in Europe already.
Way to go, Sharice.
I agree with Davis. No, I don't think he's going to, David, not immediately. And we'll see if he can over time. But it's almost an unfair comparison because I think Luka is special. I mean, Luka, he's been 5 straight, first team All NBAs. So, I mean, he ain't no.
And eat hamburgers, smoke cigarettes, and drink.
I'll tell you one thing I'll say about him. I'm not saying he's as good as this player, but the first time I saw LeBron James play when he was in high school, I said, I don't know how great a pro he's going to be, but he's going to be a pro, and he knows how to play basketball.
Yeah.
I would say the same thing about
Cooper.
Yeah, he knows how to play basketball.
Yeah.
The thing about LeBron, the only thing I'd say about LeBron, and Larry's 100% right, is LeBron. When you saw LeBron at 18, you thought, wait a second, that dude's body don't look like no 18-year-old man, a kid. He was almost a grown man when he came into that.
He was a grown man.
Chuck, I made that statement because he was playing against boys, but even it wasn't just because of his body though. He knew how to play basketball. He's fundamentally sound and everything. And I see some of the same characteristics, not quite as big, but same characteristics in Flag.
22 years later, he's still playing.
All right, now let's turn to the ladies.
Ooh.
I'm sorry. I picked South Carolina. I wanted South Carolina. I'm a big fan of Dawn Staley, the coach. But UConn just kicked their ass.
They did.
From the beginning.
Not just them. Hey, UConn looked like the most complete team in both tournaments. Top to bottom. You talk about playing basketball.
Oh my God.
They look like a machine.
And they were a 2 seed.
Yes. They beat 3 number 1 seeds on their way to the championship.
They were underseeded.
That's because Juju. That's because Juju.
I think they'd have kicked Juju's butt too.
Well, they, USC probably played them better. Certainly played them better than UCLA and
USC. Yeah,
South Carolina.
I knew UCLA was going to get beat.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's funny though.
Wait a minute. Time out. Let's give David some credit. He knew they was going to get beat.
And got blown out. He called it. He said we're going to get blown out. And he said nailed that. I mean, nailed it. I know. We thought you had bumped your head when you said it. We were okay, David.
Somebody
knocked some sense. For drug testing last week.
But you were right. You were absolutely right.
There was just something about UConn.
They have 3-star players. I mean, seriously,
all of them will be first picks.
I mean, Paige is unbelievable. Fudd finally, woke up. That's the Fudd we knew back in high school here in Washington, D.C., and she was fabulous.
Incredible.
And
a freshman.
And Sarah,
freshman.
Whoa.
Freshman.
She gonna be.
She had a Joker type game.
Hey, look, she's the center, and she was shooting threes. She's the next best. She's the next real deal right there.
She reminded me of the Joker, man. She was rebounding, scoring, everything.
And by the way, we got a preview, right? We all fell for the, banana and the tailpipe because they went to South Carolina. And beat them by 30.
Yeah.
They had won 71 straight games in South Carolina, and UConn crushed them. So we should have known this.
My love for Dawn Staley made me write that off as a fluke.
I know.
So I'm like, Dawn's got it.
They just weren't good enough.
South Carolina looked like against UConn like they were playing whack-a-mole at the carnival. Every time they whacked one down, another one popped up, man. And they could not miss. They were relentless on offense and defensive board. They wouldn't stop. They just kept coming at them.
They didn't have a star player this year, South Carolina.
But let me just say this about ladies basketball. I mean, and I enjoy watching the ladies, but darn it, you got to hit the damn layups. And South Carolina missed layup after layup after layup. They could have been in the game at least a little longer. But
South Carolina came out there matching them bucket for bucket at first. And then all of a sudden, because both teams were playing at a phenomenal rate for the first, it was like 15 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, UConn kept going. UConn peaked. They're the epitome of peaking at the right time.
They did. That's the other thing. They peaked at the right time, man. They really.
But when we say peak, what we're really saying though is Fudd. because Fudd hadn't been playing like that for a while.
Mhm.
And I mean, Fudd had, Fudd was he had 19 points in the first half in one of those games. And then Chicane had 24 points against South Carolina. She just wasn't scoring like that. We knew that was in her, but man, she started playing great. Paige, I think Paige was the third leading scorer.
Well, let's speaking of
championship game,
Paige
yeah.
Beckers, let me just ask this. This was her 5th year in college basketball. She's a great player, but it seemed to me, at least in the Final Four, she wasn't the best player on that team in the Final Four. Do you all agree or not agree?
I totally agree.
Well, Fudd won the most outstanding player.
And we just talked,
Most outstanding player.
and we just talked about Sarah, how great she was.
Mhm.
And
But
that's how
Think
stacked.
about, I'll give Paige credit. She plays within the
The first-
concept of their team.
Oh,
yeah.
In the Florida game, and matter of fact, their whole team plays that way.
She was
Now-
willing to step back for that ring. She was willing to step back.
Now,
And she
Paige,
didn't play poorly.
Yeah.
now
So she
Paige
didn't play
Beckers is going to be the number 1 pick. He
Mhm.
will play this season in the WNBA. She'll be tired. Will she have the impact that Caitlin Clark had last season?
You know the answer to that,
No.
David.
No.
What do you mean by impact? What do you mean by impact?
Well, Larry.
No, I mean, are you talking about? Is she gonna? She's not.
Well,
gonna
no,
draw-
I'm not talking
not gonna
about.
sell
I'm not
out.
talking about attendance because that's
Yeah, I mean,
already
that's
been
what I meant.
decided.
What do you mean by that?
Impact in terms of team play in her game. Will she be as good as Caitlin?
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
Because
Caitlin was first team All NBA, All WNBA at the end. She was first team All WNBA. This Paige, I don't think will be first team All NBA.
I think Paige does something that Caitlin does really well. Paige doesn't do it as well as Caitlin. Caitlin is excellent at creating her own shot. She can create her own opportunity. Paige can do that, but I haven't seen her do it at the level that Caitlin does. Caitlin does it at another level.
But her role was different in college, and she had, I think, more players to play with, and I think she kind of plays within her team concept, and a lot will depend on what her team asks her to do.
right.
I
Right.
think playing for Vince Lombardi, he reminds me of Vince Lombardi, man. Gino is old school. Like Paige said, what did he say to you? He said, I love you. I said, I hate you. But everybody got what she was saying. But he drives them so hard, and Dawn does too. She just does it in a different way. But Gino just like, until you hate me, I'm not being really effective. You're gonna hate me when this is over, but you're gonna probably have a ring.
Only criticism I would have about Donna, it's not, I can't believe I'm gonna say that because she won the national championship last year. She just gotta get more shooters, man. Good grief.
Yeah.
Those girls sometimes on her teams they're not able to shoot. They're physical, they're strong, they can fast break, they can drive, but sometimes you got better shoot the basketball.
Well, in previous years, she's had reasonable shooters. This year, I think the players were just not quite on the level. She didn't have a superstar on that team.
I think she has 2 shooters. For some reason, neither one of them start. I like Fuwali, and I like Johnson.
Yeah.
They both scored a lot last year off the bench, and I think she keeps them coming off the bench. But it seems I think Fuwali probably needs more time.
She got a little love-hate thing with her, though. There's
Yeah.
a love-hate thing with her because she gets mad at her because she comes in and sometimes she don't like the shot selections that she takes.
Well, let me ask you guys this about the coaching matchup. Gino Auriemma, 71 years old,
Legend.
won his 12th national championship.
Think
Dawn
about that.
Staley, hoping to win her 4th. One thing I didn't particularly care for was the body language of Dawn Staley on the bench, and I know the camera's focused on that. Was this the ultimate coaching matchup, the new superstar coach in Dawn Staley against the old lion in Gino Auriemma?
I think so. Gino doesn't show any signs of slowing down or going anywhere, so he's going to be there for a while. But he's got an old school methodology that works, and he knows how to recruit the players that work within that system, and they work within it well, and they have that love-hate, love-love relationship, and they get it done. Dawn is she's a very interesting person. When you watch her interact with her players, they have this really great relationship, but then it's almost like it's certain ones that she just turns on them. Like, you're not doing what I need you to do. And like this freshman, I think this freshman, I forget her name, she is phenomenal. And she came through in a lot of games, but I'm not so sure that 2 years from now, she's going to elevate to the player she can be, because I'm not sure I don't know if Dawn appreciates her style of play as much as, maybe some other folks do. But yeah, I think that matchup, you'll see that matchup again. What happened to Notre Dame's? I really thought they would be in it. They folded.
Well, Nell Ivy will have them resuscitated next season.
I don't know that
they got players.
They lost one of their stars today or yesterday. The girl,
but they still have the main star.
Well, they had two of them last year and they didn't do nothing. So I don't know.
Well, Notre Dame is gonna be reckoned with.
I hope so. I like them.
They were the opposite of peaking at the right time.
Yeah. They were number one for a while.
Amen to that, brother. Amen.
I respect to the coaching matchup, though. I don't think that's fine and dandy, but actually, Connecticut's team, 2 seasoned stars and a real young horse coming in with Strong. I think they had a little better roster than most people did.
Just more talent.
They had a lot of talent.
Yeah.
I mean, they're as talented as I've seen UConn in many years.
I'll say this about Miss Dawn Staley, University of Virginia. She looked a little stylish on the sideline with her little sweatsuit. I looked that up. You know that sweatsuit cost
$7,500.
$7,500 for a sweatsuit.
It was Gucci, right? Wasn't it Gucci?
No,
Louis Vuitton.
Louis Vuitton.
Well, keep in
Or
mind,
Las Vegas. I don't know.
she's making almost $4 million a year, so she can afford it.
Yeah.
She can afford it. All right, now, let's move on.
Oh, one last thing too.
Okay, go ahead.
You guys brought this up. I think Larry was going down the path that maybe Paige is as good as Caitlin, and I don't. Of course, I absolutely don't agree with that at all. And I'm not saying that's what you said, Larry, but I thought maybe that's where you were going. The viewing public last year in the championship game, it was 14 million people watched South Carolina and Iowa. This year it was 4 million. South Carolina and UConn.
Wow.
Well, but 4 million is a good.
No, it's fine.
audience.
It's fine. That's
a
not
good
the
audience.
fine. But it ain't 14 million.
No,
Chuck, I wasn't gonna say she's as good as Caitlin. I think they're different type of players and they're asked to do different things, especially in college. I think Caitlin was the focus of the offense there, and she was the focus when she got to the pros. I'm not sure if Paige will be asked to do the same thing. She's a different type of player.
Yeah.
before we leave Paige Beckers, who was a multi-year All-American, where does she rank in the pantheon of UConn players?
It's hard to say.
Is she in the top 10? Because UConn has had so many great players over the
Brianna
years.
Stewart won 4 in a row. And they don't even talk about Stewie. She won 4 in a row.
She gets some play.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean,
I think she's in the top 10.
it's hard to say.
I wouldn't put her beyond the top 10.
Okay.
Maya Moore, Diana.
Maya
Taurasi.
Moore. I think that's the greatest player from UConn, Maya Moore. That's my opinion, but you guys know I have plenty of opinions. They may not be the right opinions, but they're mine. All right, let's talk hockey for a second. Alexander Ovechkin. Wow. Did you all think he was going to break the record?
No, I did not. I didn't think any of Wayne Gretzky's records were going to be broke. I didn't. And I don't even follow a lot of hockey. But here's the thing about that whole thing. Not only was it great for hockey, but it was great for the DMV. I mean, this area got like ignited. And above all, Wayne Gretzky was the most gracious, record holder watching his record get broken that I've ever seen. Unlike the meltdown that kooky Mark Gastineau did when Michael Strahan broke his record, accusing Brett Favre of taking a dive.
Well, Brett Favre did take a dive.
He didn't have anywhere to go. If you look at it, as soon as he gave a play action and turned, and Strahan was there on him like a tiger, man. He had nowhere to go. So
Greg, you don't think he took a dive?
I really don't. Just look at it again, man.
They can
He
pull up
did
the
a play action.
videotape.
I'm telling you, he did a play action.
He went down and patted him on the helmet.
He patted him on the helmet for not crushing him. That's why he patted him on the helmet. I'm telling you. But Gastineau literally went to an event, a memorabilia event, and confronted Favre like a nut. Then the other side, you got this gracious Wayne Gretzky, gentleman of all gentlemen, cheering with the crowd. I mean, I thought it was just so classy, man. I thought it was a classy.
Gretzky's a classy player, but keep in mind, one thing it goes untalked about is the number of assists. In hockey, you have
Total
scoring
points, right?
total
Yeah.
points. And Wayne Gretzky has 1,300 assists. Nobody's even
No, he
nobody's
probably
even
has
close.
1,500 more points than
That's
than
crazy.
Ovechkin.
I mean, my God. And Gretzky toned down his game toward the end of his career. He could have scored 1,200 goals instead of moving them to assist and points.
Well, he got a little older too, so that might,
Well,
See, the difference-
Gordie Howe played till he was 50.
Yeah, but he probably toned down his game too. The difference, one thing about Ovechkin, he's kind of like Hank Aaron, never hit 50 home runs, but he's been consistent every year.
Yeah.
He's had one season that they had a lockout that they didn't play at all. They had another season that they had a lockout from like September to January. Then we had the COVID year. I think Ovechkin would probably have over 1,000 goals now had he played all
And
those.
remember, he lost
And-
a lot.
and
Of,
he missed
he
5
broke
weeks
his
this-
leg this year.
Yeah, missed 5 weeks
That
this
is
year.
insane.
I think we'd be talking about him with 1,000 goals now.
Well, let me ask you guys this ultimate hockey question. Because of Ovechkin, and all of us have a Washington, D.C. connection, will you watch professional hockey? Will you watch the Capitals? Because the Capitals could win the Stanley Cup this year. Will you watch? Larry?
Yeah, I watch him all the time.
Chuck?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't like hockey. I mean, I'm not a hockey guy. I don't even understand. You know what I'm saying? So I will tip my hat to Ovi. Unbelievable, the great eight. I mean, look, he's 39, he's going to be 40 this year. He's like LeBron. They both came in about the same time. Gordie Howe had that record. Oh, excuse me, Gretzky. Gordie Howe had the record for 31 years. Then Gretzky broke it. Gretzky had it for 31 years. Then Ovi broke it.
Well, you seem knowledgeable.
Jabbar had his scoring title for 34 years, and then LeBron broke it. So these are unusual situations, and he's a class act. Same team, been with the same team for the 20 years. It's just pretty cool on all levels. But I won't watch. I don't.
Greg, are you going to watch?
I'll watch if they compete for Lord Stanley's Cup. Other than that, probably not.
Right.
Okay.
I usually watch it. I'm most sports. I'm a general sports fan, but in hockey, I watch the Caps, see how well they do. But I like most playoff sports. So when they get to the finals, it doesn't matter which teams, unless they're competing against basketball or something like that. And especially if it gets to game 6 and 7, I usually turn in and watch them.
All right. Let me say a
Stevens,
shout out
what you
to
do?
my friend Ann Stevens.
Oh,
We've
that's a
been
good
friends for
name.
almost 40 years. We
Wow.
worked together in Dayton, Ohio. How you doing, Ann? Thanks for watching.
And thanks for joining.
Hello, Ann.
Hey,
Well,
Ed.
and let me say a shout out to my man Derek Wilkerson. Thank you, Derek, because you know I'm correct most times.
Okay, now he stole the money in Mississippi. He did steal the money. But
He definitely stole the money. No doubt about that.
But regardless of whether he took a dive, it was no reason for Gastineau to act like that. That was like, Crazy.
It was bizarre. It was bizarre, man.
Who was the guy on the other side? It was Gastineau, and who was the other?
Klecko or somebody.
Oh, Klecko.
Klecko.
Joe
Yeah,
Klecko.
Klecko. Yeah.
Let me do one more shout out to my family. Adrian.
Oh.
By the way, happy
Right.
birthday to your brother. I didn't hear from you. By the way.
Uh-oh.
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 You know, for 1 month, we're the same
Uh-oh.
age. 1 month, we're the same age.
Yeah, David
My
had a
sister-
birthday over the weekend.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
But anyway, my sister's taking up pickleball. She's getting better. and I'm just so proud to have her as my sister.
Your sister's so attractive there, David. Are you sure you're not a doc? Whatever. I don't want to get into
Look,
that. I don't want to
look.
get into that.
Stop. Thanks for watching, sis. I appreciate it. Really do. Love you. All right. Okay. Before we move on, let's get to what we were most comfortable doing. We talk about the NBA.
Wow.
All right. Mike Malone fired. What's up with that? He won an NBA championship just 2 years ago. How can that happen? They fire also Calvin Booth, the GM. What's going on? The regular season's almost over.
1 week.
This is what I call non-basketball related firings. This is something happened in the locker room. I don't know if Mike Malone said, "Joker, your breath stinks. I don't want you on here anymore." I mean, it can't be basketball. It can't be. They're not only playing well, they're winning. I mean, it's got to be something that happened. I don't know if it's contract related, if it's something that you just never know. But it's not basketball. It can't be basketball.
It's more likely Joker said, "Mike Malone, your breath stinks. I don't want you here anymore."
It could be. Superstars have an unlimited amount of power these days.
Well,
In the Denver papers, there was some thought that Mike Malone might be fired at the end of the season, provided they didn't win the championship.
But why do you fire a guy with, regardless of what may be going on behind the scenes, just before the playoffs? Because they're going to be in the playoffs. They're not going to be in the play-in.
Well, what I was saying was the rumor was going around because there was some tension in the front office. Mike Malone thought they should have made a move before the trade deadline to bring another person in, and Booth didn't do it. I guess both of them got punished for it. But it does seem strange. We were just talking about this last week with Taylor Jenkins getting fired with
from Memphis.
9 games left. Now this guy gets fired with 5 games left.
This is the kind of thing that happens in the National Hockey League, where they get rid of the manager all the time, no matter what part of the season it is. Is the NBA moving toward that model? Chuck, let me ask you.
I don't know. I think this was I'm just to piggyback off of Larry's point. They were saying things like this had been brewing to the extent that they might have fired Malone had he not won the championship a couple of years ago, because I guess he'll wear on you a little bit. They said him and Calvin Booth, they weren't even speaking, and this has been going on for a long time. Also, Calvin Booth wanted to play a younger, I can't think of the player. He wanted to play a certain player on the team more, but Mike Malone was playing Westbrook. And I guess it all came to a head when Westbrook had that bad game where he missed the layup and caused the foul and blah, 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 blah. And so behind the scenes that we didn't know, this has been brewing. And so what they said was, if I let this dude go into the playoffs, they win or get to the finals, then I'm really going to have a hard time firing.
He's untouchable. Yeah.
So they wanted to fire him now. Now, again, I don't know if any of that is true, but that's what Wendy was reporting.
Well, I read some stuff in the Denver. I think Woody Page writes with him and a couple of other people. So it was, and they happened to lose 4 games in a row, which is unusual for them. So they're at a bad point now.
Let him go at the end of the year. I don't know. I just don't want to see the NBA fall into that. But now we've seen a couple of coaches. I mean, last season, the coach
Adrian Griffin,
Milwaukee.
Yeah, the Cleveland coach, they let him go at the end of the year. Yeah.
Well, but at the end of the year is one thing, and that's kind of normal. But mid-season, early season, end of the season, I don't know. I'm not comfortable with that. Now, let me ask you guys this: what the hell is going on with Ja Morant? I'm tired of him. I'm the gun motion. And he was reprimanded, and yet he did it again. Is he mentally ill? Chuck, what do you think?
He's just challenging the authority. Did you see his latest move? His latest move is this.
Grenade.
Last night. So they fined him for the 75,000 gun thing. So now they got this new thing where they do the grenade. So he hit a 3-pointer, pulled the pin out of the grenade, threw it into the crowd, covered his ears. And it's not just him. His 10 teammates joined into this nonsense too. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. They said if David Stearns was commissioner, that none of this would be happening. For some reason, Silver puts up with it, and I don't know what. I don't know why.
You know, when you think about it, you got to look. He doesn't realize people are looking at it in the totality. Had he not done those videos, this wouldn't even be an issue. And the fact that the league only fined him $75,000 for a millionaire, they look at it as a speeding violation or a parking violation. But he is embarrassing them. He just won't cooperate, and he's going to make them do something to him. He's going to make them do that.
I think a lot of these guys too, especially he's not all that young, but the younger ones, they don't really value not only their talent, but their skill, their opportunity. And I don't think he has the same value on his opportunity as most, the average, the four of us see it as an opportunity to set his entire family up for generations to come. And that may not even be in his thought process.
Now, in John Morant's situation, his father is almost at every game.
They banned him from
he's been banned.
I saw him after you said that last week. I saw him at a game, hugging him.
Home game.
I don't know where the game was.
No, he hasn't been banned on the road, but I think he got banned at home.
Well, when I saw his father get in an argument, almost get in a fight with the tight end. Shannon Sharp. I'm like, okay, first of all, his father's crazy because he would get broken in half messing with Shannon Sharp. That's the first thing. But secondly, it's like, okay, everything John Morant does now makes sense because at this age, if he's behaving like that, what can you expect from John Morant? I mean,
think about it. Had it not been for those videos, which I'm not overlooking them, I've seen plenty of people after they shoot a shot, blow their gun, put their guns in their holster and stuff like that. This would really be nothing. But since the commissioner came out and said something about it, he needs to get his brain together and just stop it because he's going to make them do something. And they really don't want to do anything behind that.
But now when you say videos, are you talking about when they showed him in the club with the gun, when they showed him in the car with the gun?
Right.
Well, that's real. I mean,
those are real issues. I agree.
Right.
But far I've seen plenty of players blow their finger after they, shot shots and stuff like that. I mean, that's
we saw that player with a real gun in a video earlier, we wouldn't think that's cool either.
I really don't think he's going to be satisfied until he's out of the league.
It would be nothing. It would be nothing, for the most part. And the league really looks at it like it's not that serious. And they wanted to, give him a little slap on the hand and tell him to stop. But he's going to make them do something to him over something that's not really that serious.
So I'm going to. It's sad. Jaren Jackson's son, who plays for the Memphis team, he too was doing the grenade, covering his ear thing. And I know he got better sense because his mom is like a Georgetown lawyer. I mean, she's big time, and Jaren Jackson's big. I mean, they know better. So I don't know what is going on in Memphis, but it's got to come to a head.
They got Zach Edey. They got Zach Edey, though.
Yeah.
Zach Edey got 19 rebounds the other night. Anyway, I'm going to talk about my Purdue guy.
And that's why I brought up the Purdue game earlier.
All right, Indiana. I'm from Ball State. We're never going to be in the argument. Anyway, as we get ready to wrap up this show, let me ask you guys as we move to Amen Corner.
Yes, sir.
Greg Finner will be locked in tomorrow. I know that.
Are you guys watching?
Every hole. I don't miss a hole.
Every hole.
Every hole.
Larry, are you watching?
Probably Sunday.
All right. Chuck, are you watching?
I'll be watching. I don't know if I'll be watching as every hole like Greg, but I will, I'm retired. I'll be watching a lot. If Tiger Woods was playing, I'd be watching every hole.
Well, you'd only watch for 2 days.
Well, I'm talking about the old Tiger, brother.
Well,
he won it in 2019. He got 5 green jackets. I see you, Larry. I see the hat. I like the hat.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Larry, tell the audience a little bit about your Masters experience. What was that like?
I went on a golf course and got a tour of it and had lunch there. I didn't actually touch a club or anything like that. This is back in the 80s.
This
Did it
is
take your
very
breath
hilly.
away? Did it
It's
take your
very
breath
hilly,
away?
Larry. And then you can't tell on television how hilly it is or something.
Oh,
Nice course of food was good. Then I went to visit James Brown's house, which is down the street.
There you go.
so
Hey.
Up to Augusta.
Augusta, Georgia.
did you have an opportunity to play and pass it up, or you just went there to have lunch?
Yes.
Wow.
No, yes, I went there to have lunch.
Okay,
No,
okay.
I was there at lunchtime.
It was a-
All right. Okay, I will be watching a little bit of Masters golf. I'm rooting for Rory McIlroy.
That's what I think is going to win it. That's what I think is going to win it.
He's never won the Masters. He needs to win. How old is he now? 35, 36, 37?
Something like that. But he's hitting the ball really well right now. He is crushing.
He's won what, 3 tournaments this year so far?
Yeah, he's hitting the ball well. He's pasting the fairways. He's putting well. Yeah, he's got a. That's my pick to win it.
Well,
Why
Greg,
am I drawing a blank? Why am I drawing a blank on the guy?
35.
35.
The guy from Louisville, the got arrested in Louisville, the real good
Oh, Scott
Scheffler.
Scotty
Yeah.
Scheffler.
So my thing is, anytime Scheffler tees it up, I
Yeah.
think he's going to win. I don't know. Scheffler is pretty damn.
That's
good.
not a bad bet. That's not a
Yeah.
bad bet at all.
That's not a bad
Got it,
bet.
Shep.
All right, gentlemen, it's been real. Do we have closing comments from the group?
I do.
Go ahead. I have a quick one. Mine is quick.
All right.
And it might not
All
even be a big deal to all of you guys, but I'm a big Roberto Clemente fan. I love Roberto Clemente. He's one of my favorite all-time baseball players. He might have been my favorite all-time baseball player. And they had a picture of him in the right field corner. He played right field at Petco Park. And over the weekend or sometime last week, they covered it up for a beer ad or some type of drink ad, and they took it down. Now, I don't know how you could have a meeting talking about taking down the Roberto Clemente tribute to put up a drink ad. It just seems foolish. Now, they have reversed it because of the outcry of the fans. They're putting it back up, but I just wanted to make mention, how dumb can you be to sit in a meeting and come to that conclusion? And but they fixed it, so there you go.
Who else has a closing remark?
I have one.
All right,
Now,
Brett.
I'll make it as quick as possible. So I know how to pick winners, right? I know how to pick winners. Yeah, I pick some
Okay.
losing sometimes, but I know how to pick winners. This year, I picked the consummate winner in Florida. Also, the real winner in Florida was William Clayton Jr., but not for the reason you might think that I'm selecting him as the winner. And a lot of people, I'm sure, are familiar with this. So we get down to the last 9 seconds. Sharp gets the ball. He's got it teed up for a three-pointer. He goes up, and here comes Clayton out of nowhere, totally obstructs his view, up and down, just like we did on the playground, and the game's over. Now, instead of rushing right over and celebrating with his team, Clayton goes over to Sharp, bends down, and puts his arm around him. Now, I don't know what he said, but that was like that is the epitome of sportsmanship. It was probably the most regal moment of the March Madness tournament. It was very reminiscent of the John Thompson, Freddie Brown moment. I mean, it's like, and all of us, you don't even have to have a son to feel for a young man that makes a play at a crucial time like that, that arguably cost me. A lot of things happened early in the game that cost me. That's just the thing that got highlighted, right? And so for all of the young ballers and folks that were watching, boy, what a role model this guy was. What an example he set. William Clayton Jr. is the sportsman of the year in my book. I thought it was just a fantastic moment.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Larry.
No comments this week.
All right. I'm simply going to end with a remark about what happened in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, and the club crashing down, and 120 at this point people at least confirmed passed away, and maybe many more. It's tragic. and a
Yeah.
couple of professional baseball players were involved. Very sad, very sad. There's no way you can look at that any other way, and that's sad.
Horrible. I think they
All right,
lost.
gentlemen.
I think Doctel got killed in that. Who was the next pitcher? And I think Pedro's family are still missing. Pedro
Yeah,
Martinez's family still missing. Horrible.
it's horrible. It's horrible. Gentlemen, it's been real. Chuck, Larry, Greg, you guys were excellent as usual. I appreciate it. Thank you for making the show the best
Good
that
job.
it can be.
Good job, David.
It's a blast.
All right.
Nicely done.
Real Fellas Talk Sports is over.